theyeshiva.net.
You see Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, 7 lines from the bottom. The beginning of the line, Tanya Kavasei de Rav, Tanya Kavasei de Levi. Let's recall our discussion in this sugya of the Gemarah. Yosef ben Yoezer ish Tzreida, a man by the name of Yosef, the son of Yoezer, from a city called Tzreida, testified something about the Beis Hamikdash. And what was his testimony? His testimony was that there's a certain liquids, beverages in the Beis Hamikdash which are pure. They're not susceptible to tumah. That's the testimony that Yosef ben Yoezer gave us about the Beis Hamikdash. Certain liquids, certain mashkin and beverages that are pure. They do not become impure. Now, that testimony has been subject to great dispute. And the dispute consists on 2 different levels. One is a dispute between Rav and Shmuel, what he meant that those beverages are not susceptible to tumah. Rav took it in an extreme, meaning they cannot become tameh. Not only can't they transfer tumah, they can't even contract tumah for themselves. Ad kedei kach, gewaldig. These liquids cannot become tameh. Shmuel said no. He minimized it. He said they can't transfer tumah to other foods or other liquids, but they themselves can become impure. As the Gemarah explained earlier, the logic behind this debate has to do with how you generally look at the impurity of liquids outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Rav holds that the whole experience, the whole entity of Tumas Mashkin is a rabbinic invention, meaning biblically liquid never gets tameh, because the verse that speaks about liquid becoming tameh is not talking about liquid, it's talking about liquid that touches food, which makes the food susceptible to tumah. The yitma of liquid is not the liquid, it's the yitma of the food because it came in contact with liquid. That's Rav's interpretation. And hence, liquid is never tameh biblically. It can't get tameh. It's not a substance that can get tameh. Wow. The whole mitzias, the whole novelty that liquid can get tameh is only rabbinic. If it's rabbinic, they took it out of the Beis Hamikdash, that rabbinic edict. Shmuel says no. Liquid can become tameh min ha-Torah. Liquid can't transfer tumah min ha-Torah because the pasuk says yitma, not yitameh. Liquid can become tameh, but not transfer tumah. Rabbinically, liquid can transfer tumah, say, to other foods or other liquids. Hence, in the Beis Hamikdash, they took that edict away, and the mashka can become tameh, but not transfer tumah. That was one major argument in this testimony of Yosef ben Yoezer. What did he mean, tahar? Did he mean mashka is tahar mamish, or tahar to not transfer? Dachan mamish, or dachan milatame acher? There was another argument between Rav and Levi, and the other argument is which liquid in the Beis Hamikdash. Rav said it's referring to the liquid in the butchering place of the Beis Hamikdash, what's known as mashke bei mitbachaya, the liquid of the Beis Hamitbachayim, the butchering place in the Beis Hamikdash, meaning where they would prepare all of the meat of the karbonos for the next stage of what had to happen with it. And it was a place, a section that was filled with flowing blood and water. That's the liquid Yosef ben Yoezer was talking about, that is pure and is not susceptible to tumah, whether according to Rav or according to Shmuel. But Levi had a very different opinion. He says that's not the case. Yosef ben Yoezer was talking about mashke bei midbachaya, the liquid of the mizbeach, the liquid that ascends onto the altar itself, which is a different type of liquid. That's not the waters and the blood with which you're rinsing the water with which you're rinsing the karbonos, or the blood that's on the meat. This is the blood that gets sprinkled on the altar. It's the wine that gets poured on the altar. It's the oil that gets offered on the altar with the meal offerings. It's the water that gets offered on sukkahs on the altar. Those unique beverages are exempt from the world of tumah, as the Gemarah said, from transferring tumah, because they themselves can become tumah according to Levi. He holds like Shmuel, because we see from Chagai that these liquids can become tummy, but it means that they're tahir from transferring tumah according to Levi. Where Rav says it's talking about mashke bei mitbachaya, not midbachaya. That was the argument between Rav and Levi. The Gemarah now continues and finds a brisa to support Levi and a brisa to support Rav. Says the Gemarah, Tanya Kavasei the Rav, Tanya Kavasei the Levi. We have a brisa that supports Rav in his explanation of Yosef ben Yezer, and we have a brisa that supports Levi, his version of what Yosef ben Yezer said. Remember that the mistake happened from one letter. The argument happened from one letter. Mashke bei mitbachaya versus mashke bei midbachaya, dalid or tes, which is, I presume, a very easy way how the argument can develop. Tanya Kavasei the Levi, first a brisa that supports Levi. The brisa says, we quote, Hadam, blood, v'hayayin and wine, v'hashemen and water, v'hamayim and v'hashemen and oil, v'hamayim and water, all of them which were sacred, which are mashke bei midbachaya. These are the liquids that ascend onto the mizbeach, onto the altar. Let's see what he said. Dam, blood, but then he said yayin. In the butchering section, you don't have yayin. Why would you have wine when you're rinsing karbonos and you're trying to prepare them to be offered on the altar or to be cooked or to be eaten? Why are you pouring wine over there? Wine goes on the mizbeach. What about shemen, oil? Why would you have oil there? You don't have oil there. Oil, again, goes on the Mizbeach. Hamayim, the mayim here, therefore, is which mayim? It's the mayim of Sukkot, the mayim that you pour on the Mizbeach. All of these, mashke bei midbachaya, shenitmu bifnim. If they became impure inside the Azara, meaning inside the Beis Hamikdash, they became impure. Say a dead sheretz fell into this cup with the oil, and as a result of that, the oil is now tameh. V'hitziel nechutz. Fascinating halach. Now you took these liquids outside of their confined location, tahirin. They now lose, right? They remain tahir from being metame others. In other words, when you took them out of the Beis Hamikdash, they just became disqualified to be brought back and used as a carbon. It's called psul yotzei. When you take a carbon outside of the area where it has to remain, it like expires. You can't use it anymore. If you take the blood, or you take the oil, or you take the wine, or you take the water outside, it's called a psul yotzei, and it's not ro'i anymore to come back to the mizbeach, because that's the halacha, that kachim, that left their mechitza, they left karbonis and all parts of karbonis, that left their confined place where they belong, leaving that territory, basically opens them up and makes them vulnerable to the energy outside of it, and they lose their ability. It's like their usage expires. They lose their ability to be brought back and restored to their pristine holiness, even if you brought it back. So if I mixed, let's say, flour and oil in the keli, and I do the koimetz, right? I take the full fist of flour, I want to put it on the mizbech, and then I walk out of the Beis Hamikdash to go meet somebody, and I bring it back. It's fafallen. You can't use it anymore. This is not can't be used. So here is the chiddush, that even though it went out tahirin, it still retains the previous tahara. You don't say that now it goes back to regular mashkin, and if it's regular mashkin and it became tameh, it can transfer tumah. You say it still will not transfer tumah. So you have a very interesting scenario. You have two oils on the table, right? 2 cups of oil. Yeah. This cup of oil becomes tameh, it will be metame food. But this oil that's tameh will not be metame food. Why? Because this oil comes from mashke bei midbachaya. Because it comes from mashke bei midbachaya. And over there, it was tameh. But because it was mashke bei midbachaya, it never got the tumah to be metame others. Even though it went out, it still retains that pristine quality. So that's the chiddush. So even though nitmu b'fnim, and now it's lechutz, still tahirin, it will not transfer tumah to others. Why? Because when it became tameh, it was a roy to go on the mizbeach. If it was a roy to go on the mizbeach, so the chachamim made that lechatchila, the tumah that can be transferred shouldn't be chal on this liquid. So even though I took it out of the Beis Hamikdash now, and now it's disqualified to be used for the Beis Hamikdash, so it's a regular liquid. So you would think now it could transfer tumah to other things. Absolutely not. It still retains that leniency of the Beis Hamikdash, even though now it's completely out of the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because when it became Tameh, what type of Tumah was it? It was a Tumah that can't be transferred to anything else. So even though now the reason for that is gone, because it's not anymore mashke be'med b'chai, it's a regular liquid outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So l'chayr, it should be like any other liquid where the Chachamim said that it should be able to transfer Tumah. But since when it became Tameh, it was mashke be'med b'chai, it was liquid that's connected to the Mizbeach. So what type of Tumah was conferred upon it? A type of Tumah that is limited to the object itself and doesn't allow it to be transferable, because the Chachamim took away that halacha from this liquid, because it's mashke be'med b'chai. You now took it out and made it puzzle. So l'chayre, it's a regular liquid like any other liquid. Why should it have a yichis? That's the chiddush, that because it became tamei in the Beis Hamikdash, even though it's sealed l'chutz, it remains tahor. But nitmu b'chutz, what about the other way around? If it's not enough to be in the Beis Hamikdash, it has to be sanctified as something that's going to go on the Mizbeach. Like the water has to be sanctified in a clay sharis to be used for nisuch hamayim on the Mizbeach. That yeah. You're right. And then once it's, and if it gets tummy inside, so it will never transfer tumah to anything else. But stam a liquid in the Beis Hamikdash, according to Levi, that wouldn't help. But what do we see from this brisa? He speaks about mashke be'med b'chaya, and that's where there is a leniency that it doesn't transfer tumah. Now these liquids remain tummy themselves, because Levi doesn't hold that mashke be'med b'chaya can't be susceptible to tumah at all. He doesn't hold that because we learned from the prophecy of Haggai that they are susceptible to tumah. What he holds is that they can't be metame others. That's why we speak about tahirin in the sense that it's not metame others. What about the other way? Nitmu b'chutz, what if it becomes tameh outside of the Azara before it became a liquid of the Mizbeach? It becomes tameh. V'hichnisan b'fnim. And now you bring them inside, right? You bring them inside, so it became tameh outside. Now you bring them inside b'fnim, tmeyin. It's going to remain tameh even to be metameh others, because when it became in other words, you always follow the moment it became tameh. Since it became tameh outside, and when it became tameh outside, it had the regular rabbinic rule that it can transfer tumah. So you decided to bring it into the Azara and to make it a mashka of the Mizbeach. It doesn't cancel out this level of tumah, and now it can transfer tumah even though it's right near the Mizbeach. That's the chiddush. You're saying every mashka comes from outside. That's not the problem. The problem is it became tummy out. Every mashka comes from outside. Where are you going to get a mashka from? Where are you getting oil from? An olive tree. You're not getting mashka. You're not getting oil. Everything comes from outside. The problem is if it was inside and it became sanctified to go into the mizbech, and then you brought it outside. That's the problem. Yeah. For example, you have meat of a carbon, right? You have meat, an animal was slaughtered, and you take the blood and it was sprinkled in the mizbech, and now you have meat to eat. And you take this meat with you, and you put it in your car, and you go to Bnei Brak. That's called yotzei. The meat went out of the confinement where it belongs, and now it's puzzle. You can't do it. Even if you bring it back to Yerushalayim, it's gone. You have to burn it. You understand? Every aspect of a carbon, if it goes out of its mechitza, whatever the mechitza is, this kachay kadashim that has to stay in the Beis Hamikdash. This kachim column that can go till the end of the walls, till the walls of Yerushalayim. The blood has to stay in the Beis Hamikdash, whatever it is. But what the kaimetz has to stay inside, the other parts, everything has its place. But if it goes out of that mechitza and it was once inside and it was already sanctified as a carbon, now you have a problem. You can't use it anymore, even if you bring it back. That's called nifsal b'yotzei. The chiddush in the first clause was that it will still retain the status of tumah and tara as it did when it was worthy for a carbon, because that's how the tumah was born. That's how it stays. It doesn't get a higher tumah. On the other hand, if it became tumah outside, so now it was the highest level of tumah, even though you decided to bring it outside and use it for the mizbeach, nonetheless, it will retain the outer tara. So this was basically, you have water or oil, let's say water, and you sanctify it for nisach hamayim, for the Beis Hamikdash, for sukkahs, in a clay sharis outside, or wine for nesachim, or oil for menachas, right? And it becomes kaddish. And what makes it kaddish? Because you sanctified it. And it's not pasul b'yotzei, because it wasn't inside and you took it out. It was outside, you never brought it in yet. You could sanctify an animal as a carbon in your house. You could sanctify oil as a carbon in your house, if you have a holy keli, if you have a clay sharis. So therefore, it's not posel b'yotzei. It wasn't inside and then it left. It was never inside. So now it's kaddish, okay? That's what happens. When you bring it inside, it becomes mashke hamizbeach. It becomes mamish mashke hamizbeach. But because it became tameh when it was outside, before it became mashka mizbeach, so that tumah doesn't leave it, even though you brought it inside, because it was lechatchila tameh in a way that the tumah could be transferred. That's the chiddush. Nitmu b'chutz v'chnissen b'fnim tmeyin. Frag the Gemarah 1 second. Eini, how can you say that if the mashka became tameh inside and you brought it outside, it retains the same level of tara like inside? Rabbi Levi said, Mashka beimid b'chaya. The liquids on the mizbeach, loy amru dachon ela b'mkoiman. The Chachamim said that they're pure only in their place, in the azara. No, so the words is ela b'mkoiman, only in their space. My lav. L'mi'ute nitmo b'fnim b'tzion l'chutz. Doesn't that exclude that if it was taken out, it doesn't have that purity anymore? So he says, loy, that's not what it means. L'mi'ute nitmo b'chutz v'chnissen b'fnim. It means to exclude where it became tameh on the outside and then you brought it on the inside. It doesn't now suddenly become tahar because it has to be nitmu b'mkoiman. In other words, it has to be b'mkoiman. That's what the b'mkaiman. It's not negating a situation where it became tameh inside and now you take it outside, it's going to become the highest level of tumah. That's not what it's negating. It's negating the other way, that if it became tameh outside and you're bringing it inside, it doesn't lose that tumah that it had outside. Rabbi Shul ben Levi said it's only tar b'mkaiman in its place. That means it's mashma, that when is it tahir, as long as it is in its space, but if you take it outside, it's going to go back to the regular tumas mashkin. He says, hachi kamar. What he meant was like, amru dachan nitmu b'mkaiman. When it became tameh in its place, he didn't mean it's only tahir if it remains in the place. If it got tameh in its place, inside the Beis Hamikdash by the Mizbeach, then it retains that level of tara that it had in the Beis Hamikdash, even outside. B'mkaiman doesn't mean if it remains there, because we just learned that even when you take it out, it will still retain that level of tara. B'mkaiman means it became tameh in the confinement of the Beis Hamikdash. It will retain that level of tara even outside. But if it became tameh on the outside, even though you brought it inside, it already has that higher level of tumah, and therefore it will also transfer tumah, even if it's in the Beis Hamikdash. So this will be a hechi timtza, that water of nisach hamayim, or shemen, or yayin, or dam, will transfer tumah even according to Levi. Why? Because the tumah did not happen inside here. The tumah happened outside there, even though I brought it in and I wanted to use it for the mizbeach. Tanya kavasei de Rav. We also have a brisa supporting Rav. The brisa says, Hadam, blood, mayim, water, mashke beis mitbachaya. He doesn't have here oil and wine. He has only blood and water, and it's called mashke beis mitbachaya. Shenitmu, and they became tameh. Bein bekalim, bein bekarka. No difference if they were in vessels. No difference if they're flowing on the earth, on the ground in the Beis Hamikdash, and we'll soon see the difference. Tahirin, they are pure. Here is a brisa that clearly supports the view of Rav. So we have two brisas supporting the view of Rav and the view of Levi. Now this brisa continues and adds a new dimension. If Shimon comes up Shimon and says, wait, bekalim tameyin, bekarka tahirin. This liquid would only be tahir in Beis HaMitbachayim, in the butchering section, if it's in vessels. But if it's on the ground, the liquid will be tahir. So Reb Shimon agrees with the first part of the brisa that says that the water and the blood in the Beis HaMitbachayim is always tahir, whether it's in kalim or karka. Reb Shimon says, no, there's a qualification. In kalim, it will be tameh even in Beis HaMitbachayim. On the karka, it will be tahir in the Beis HaMitbachayim. Suddenly, we're introduced here to a new shitta in this brisa that supported Rav, and that's the view of Reb Shimon. And for this, we have to remember the three opinions that we learned earlier on Daf Tazayin Amar Aleph about Tumas Mashkin. Okay? Now, pay attention, because this is negeh to the Hemshech HaSugya. The Gemarah on Daf Tazayin quoted three opinions about liquid. The opinion of Reb Meir, and the opinion of Reb Yehuda, and the opinion of Reb Yossi and Reb Shimon. Reb Meir was one extreme, Reb Yehuda was the other extreme, Reb Yossi and Reb Shimon are in the middle. Reb Meir says that all liquid could become tamei min haTorah. It just can't transfer tamei min haTorah. Why is that so important? Reb Meir told us that whenever you have a suffix, if liquid is tamei, then you go l'chumra because it's a biblical tumah. But if you have a suffix, if it transfer tumah, then you go lenient because it's a rabbinic suffix. It's a sveika d'Rabbanan. Yeah. So if I have a suffix,
He uses the example of butter d'Rabbanan, of liquid to loaves of bread.
yeah, Reb Meir said if I have a stick with liquid at the edge of the stick and that liquid is tamei, and I sprinkle it, and I don't know if it touched the bread or didn't touch the bread because I didn't see. I just know that the liquid flew and there's bread there. It may have gone on it, so it's a suffix. Is this bread is truma? Am I allowed to eat this bread? I'm a kohen. Am I allowed to eat it or not? So Reb Meir says you're allowed to. Why? Because it's a suffix d'Rabbanan. Because even if it gets tamei, it's only a rabbinic tumah. Because biblically, mashka can't transfer tumah. So it's only a question of Rabbanan. Because it's only a question in a rabbinic tumah. Whenever you have a doubt, you go lekula, even in a rishus hayachid. That was a gewaldige chiddush.
So if it's a sure thing, then the loaves
If I know for sure that the bread got wet from the mashka, it's tamei, but only midirabanan, not midiraisa. Midiraisa would be tar. So because it's only midirabanan, so if I have a suffix, I could choose the lenient path.
What about liquid? Instead of loaves, what if it was a liquid?
Then also the same thing. Yeah. But here's the opposite. Here's the opposite. Let's say there's a big keli with water, and there's a Talmudic person who's hot, so he takes off his socks, and he's dangling his feet near the water, and we're not sure his feet touch the water. Then Reb Meir would say, the water is tamei. Why? Because it's a sveika d'oraisa. Because mashka itself, if the suffix is on the mashka itself, you go l'chumra, because it's a d'oraisa. If the suffix is, if the mashka transferred, you go l'kula. That's Reb Meir. He is the lenient view that tumas mashka, when it comes to transferring, is only midirabanan. Reb Yehuda is the other extreme. He says that mashka not only is it tamei, but it's metame min haTorah food, and it's even metame kalim. So if you have a suffix on food or kalim, whether the mashka touched it, you go l'chumra and you say it's tamei because it's a sveika d'oraisa. Rabbi Yossi, No, he's talking midiraisa. Midiraisa, the mashka could be metame even oichel kalim. So the mashka, let's say, is a rishon because it touched the sheretz. So it's going to be metame the oichel, and the oichel will become a sheni. And Rabbi Yehuda told us it can even be metame kalim. That means kalim will be a sheni, because according to that view, Rabbi Yehuda holds the only one that kalim could become a sheni even min haTorah, which is a chiddush of Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemarah is soon going to discuss that view. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon are in the middle. They say mashka could contract tumah min haTorah. It can also transfer tumah min haTorah, but only to food, not to kalim. And the source and the explanation of this machlokes we learned already in Parshas Shmini. It says that every klei cheres, whatever falls into it becomes tamei. But then the Torah says not anything that falls into it, only food, right? Only foods and drinks. From here we learn that if a keli falls into a keli, it won't become tamei. That's where we learn that a keli can only contract tumah from an ava tumah. A keli can't contract a tumah from a keli that touched a sheretz, because that's only a rishon l'tumah. But oichlin and mashkin could contract tumah even from a keli, which is a rishon l'tumah, because when oichel and mashkin fall into a klei cheres, which touched a sheretz, the klei cheres is a rishon, and the oichel and mashkin become a sheni. That's the source. But Rabbi Yehuda learned, Reb Meir learned, it says yitma, the oichel and masha is yitma. It doesn't say yitame. Rabbi Yossi and Reb Shimon says, yeah, but you can read it yitame. Even though we pronounce it yitma, but it's written in a way that it could say yitame, so it can transfer tumah also, but not to kalim. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it says b'chol mashka sheyishasa b'chol kli yitame, that any mashka that's drunk in any keli will be metame. From here we learn that mashka can be metame even kalim. If so, now we'll understand the brayse. Reb Shimon can't say that mashka Beis Chaim is tahir. Why can't Reb Shimon say that? Because if tumas mashkin is min haTorah, and even the transferring of tumas mashkin to others is min haTorah, how could it be pure in the Beis Hamikdash? The Chachamim can't abrogate. They can't nullify a mitzvah in Torah. They don't have that koyach. Hashem says that bacon is treif and they say it's kosher. Horse meat is treif and they say it's kosher. Hashem says you're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. They say you're allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. There's no game here. If tumas mashkin is min haTorah, even transferring tumas mashkin is min haTorah. So how can Reb Shimon ever agree with this proposition that we spoke about, that in the Beis Hamikdash, in the butchering section of the Beis Hamikdash, the mashka should be tar? whether according to Rav that it's tahir mamish, even according to Shmuel that it doesn't transfer tumah, Reb Shimon can't buy that. Because transferring tumah of mashkin to other foods, according to Reb Shimon, is biblical. If it's biblical, the Chachamim can't make exceptions and say, but not in the Beis Hamikdash. You don't have a pasuk for that. If the pasuk would say, not in the Beis Hamikdash, I'm good. But the pasuk never says not in the Beis Hamikdash. It says all food and all liquids can become tamei and yitame. It could be metame, wherever it is. There's no limit. So how could Reb Shimon buy in? How could Reb Shimon embrace the position? Quoting Yosef ben Yezer, that in butchering section of the Beis Hamikdash, liquid has another status. If it's only midirabbanon, the rabbis have the power to be selective and say, here yes, here not. But if the whole thing is midiraisa, Reb Shimon can't agree with this. That's why the beginning of the Beis says that what? That mashka beis hamikdash bein bekelim bein bekarka tohaydin. Reb Shimon says, I'm sorry. Bekelim, any liquid that you're going to find in the butchering section in vessels, you'll have a cup, you'll have a glass, you'll have a bowl. Anyway, if it's in a keli, any type of keli, that mashka on a table, right? On a table, anywhere, it's going to be tamei, even though it's the butchering section of the Beis Hamikdash. It's going to get tamei, it's going to transfer tumah, just like outside of the Beis Hamikdash. But Reb Shimon suddenly introduced a new din. But bekarka, if it's going to be on the karka, if it's going to be on the ground, if there's going to be water on the ground in the Beis Hamikdash, right? And a dead sheretz falls on that pile, on that pool, into that pool of water, Reb Shimon says, I have no problem. That water will become tar, and it will be tar, and of course it won't transfer tumah to anything else. It won't even be makabel tumah. Now, where did this come? So this is it. So Reb Shimon suddenly has here a new idea. And here we come to a gewaldike chiddush that's going to be explored in a moment in the Gemarah, and I'll tell it to you now. And that is that what Reb Shimon is teaching us here is that min haTorah, the idea that you need 40 sa'ah for a mikveh to make it a kosher mikveh, min haTorah is only for a person. When a person has to go into a mikveh, the pasuk says, "V'rachatz es kol psorei b'mayim." You have to bathe your whole flesh in the water. So you need a shear of water that allows for the entire body to be submerged simultaneously. And the Chachamim estimated that to be what we call 40 sa'ah, which is a certain measurement in the mikveh. But according to this view, min haTorah, even if you have a revius of water that is naturally gathered on the ground, on the earth, including in the Beis Hamikdash, on the karka, on the ground of the butchering section, because it's on the karka, it's called mikveh water, if it's a revius. A revius could be, let's say, between 3.5 and 4.5 ounces, but somewhere there. So it's you know how much that is, right? A very tiny amount of water, and if it's gathered on the floor, on the karka, it's called a mikveh. What is it a mikveh for? It's a mikveh, let's say, for a needle. If you have a needle that's tamei, right? A needle could be dipped into 4 ounces of water and get covered by the water, and it's a kosher mikveh. Now, we know that the halacha by mikveh, it says in Parshas Shmini, that a mayan and bor mikveh mayim yiyeh tahor, right? If a dead mouse falls into a mikveh, the mayim is not tamei, right? Even if a mace, every person who dies is put into a mikveh, or they pour water on him, whatever. A mikveh does not get tamei. That's the chiddush of a mikveh. If a mikveh would get tamei, then there would be no mikvahs in the world, because every tameidik person goes into a mikveh and he makes the mikveh tamei. Huh? Well, we're not talking blood. When Reb Shimon said this, he was talking about water. Very good question. Huh? Okay, so that we have to wait one moment. You're asking, where did this water come from? So maybe it's rainwater? Right. Maybe is it rainwater that fell on the karka? Maybe 4 ounces, right? Is it that? But here we introduce to a new halacha. Reb Shimon says that the water in the kelim, in the Beis Hamikdash, I'm sorry, that's tamei. The Chachamim can't change that. It's a halacha in Torah that it's tamei. I can't deal with it. You have a testimony of Yosef ben Yezer that he said the liquid in the butchering section of the Beis Hamikdash is tar. It's you all got it wrong. He was talking about one little detail. The water on the karka, which is a revius, that's a mikveh biblically. Because it's a mikveh biblically, it's immune from all tumah. Now, The Chachamim challenged this halacha. The Chachamim say you're not allowed to be toivel a needle in 3 ounces of water. They said a mikveh for everything has to be 40 sa'ah. But that's only Medibri Rabbanan. In the Beis Hamikdash, they maintain the biblical status of a mikveh. The biblical status of a mikveh is even 3.5 ounces of water on the ground, which is a good mikveh for kalim. And therefore, if there's liquid on the ground in the Beis HaMitbachayim, even a very small amount are revi'is, which would be tar to be a mikveh min ha-Torah, it's not susceptible to tumah. A zav touched it, or a zava touched it, or a mace touched it, or a sheretz touched it. Yeah, let's say chas v'sholem, a kohen falls down, he died, and there's a pile of water there, yeah? They take away the kohen, now this water, yeah? A piece of meat falls on this water, you would say, this meat is tameh. No, because this is mikveh water. Because it's mikveh water, min ha-Torah, because there was a revi'is, so it's immune from tumah. The Chachamim said it's not mikveh, you need 40 sah, there was no 40 sah mikveh here. It was just a gathering of water on the floor. You're right. But since it's the Beis HaMikdash, the Chachamim did not make this din in the Beis HaMikdash. That's what Reb Shimon says. That's the pshat. Reb Shimon noimer lekelim tmeyin, bekelim tmeyin, bekarka toirin, bekarka toirin. But what do we see from this brayse? That mashke Beis HaMitbachayim, that's where the Tara is. And that's the support for Rav. So now we understand the view of Reb Shimon, a whole new dimension into this discussion. He holds Tumas Mashkas ben HaTorah, but if it's Bekarka, it has a status of mikveh. A gewaldike chiddush. You need a revi'is taka, you need a revi'is, because if it's less than a revi'is, then it's not considered even a mikveh min ha-Torah. But you don't need arboyim sa'ah, you don't need 40 sa'ah, only if a person is going into the mikveh to be matayr himself, because it says v'rachatz b'mayim eskol b'sarei. It's true, again, the Chachamim said, do not use a small mikveh even for kalim. That's true. And therefore, I should add, because the Chachamim said you can't use such a small mikveh for kalim, therefore they also said that such a small mikveh could become tameh, because if it's not a mikveh, it's regular water. If it's regular water, it could become tameh. Very good, but it's all a rabbinic edict in the Beis HaMikdash. They always wanted to protect karbanis as much as possible. So therefore they said, in the Beis HaMikdash, we go back to the biblical version. This is a little water flowing on the ground, mamish, a few ounces. It's good, it's a mikveh. If it's a mikveh, it's not susceptible to tumah. Even Reb Shimon would agree, and that's how Reb Shimon understood Yosef ben Yoezer's testimony. Of course, even more than a revi'is, of course, minimum a revi'is. Water on the karka, as long as it's a revi'is or more, is not susceptible to any tumah. Whatever happens, any contact with tumah does not affect that mashke, which means, of course, that if that mashke touches something else, nothing is tameh. But only on the karka, gathered. Just a drop of water on the ground won't do it. That will become tameh. If it's Beis HaMitbachayim. Over there, the Chachamim canceled the regular gzeira. Not they canceled, they didn't make the gzeira there. No, he means, we'll soon see. He's talking about, he's looking for tiny vessels that could go into 4 ounces. So you need a needle or tiny vessels, yeah. A big knife is not going to go into... No. It's just a name for a keli that's tiny. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Good question. Where did the water come from? That's your question. Good question. We'll get that in a moment. Oh, that's your question. Is it Mayim Shov or not Mayim Shov? Exactly. Excellent question. In other words, this water on the ground, very nice, beautiful. But where did it come from? The rain? It was open. There was no roof. Huh? So that's the question. Where did this water come from? Yeah. He just says stam b'karka tahirin. If it was a living well, then there's no question. Even if it's a revi'is, it came from that well and it gathered in the water, in the ground, right? It flowed from the well and there's a little puddle. Fine, I understand. Is that what he's talking about or not? Let's hold on for a moment. We'll soon see, okay?
This is after Midbechaya wouldn't be a main.
Right, this is not Midbechaya, this is Mitbechaya. Right.
Even though it's in Beis Hamikdash,
Right. Even according to the Shimon, the water of Beis HaMitbechayim, the Chachamim maintained the din of Torah, that even a Revius Mayim that's gathered together on the ground in the Azara will not be Mekabel Tumah. With blood, that wouldn't apply because blood can't be a mikveh. Even 1,000 saw of blood is not a mikveh. Water is a mikveh. Yeah, but they says that they would, like by the Carbon Pesach, it's brought, they would, there was a stopper, right? And there was an amma, there was some brook, some canal, yeah. Some canal of water. Right. But this is only in the butchering section of the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, let's see. Says the Gemarah weiter. Rav Papa now throws out what's called a bombshell in Gemarah. Well, it's not called that in Gemarah, but I'm calling that. Till now, we were under an assumption in the whole sugya that you always have to look at one thing. If the Chachamim said that liquid in the Beis Hamikdash is pure, it's only because the tumah of liquid is not biblical. If it was biblical, the Chachamim can't make any game, they can't play games, so to speak, with it. If it was rabbinic, then they have the authority to say here yes, here not. That was the assumption with which this whole sugya was going with. And that's why we said that Rav, who says that the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash is completely tahir, he must hold that the whole tumah of liquid is a rabbinic invention. It's not biblical. And that's why they can completely take it away from the Beis Hamikdash. Shmuel doesn't hold that. Shmuel holds that mashke is tamim min hatayra. Just the transferring of mashke to other things, transferring the tumah is midirabana, so he could take that out of the Beis Hamikdash. That is the logical assumption, and we understand why we thought that, because it makes a lot of sense. If something is tamim min hatayra, as I said many times, the Chachamim can simply not abrogate that. They don't have, nobody gave them that koyach. They can make fences, they can make isurim, they can make mitzvahs dirabana, like lighting Hanukkah candles and reading the Megillah, right? Or netilas yadayim, but they cannot make they cannot be matir an isur min hatayra or a tumah min hatayra. It just does not exist in the history of halacha. That can't exist, and if it does exist, it's not halacha anymore. This is the principle that guided the sugya of Gemarah, and it's a very logical principle. It's an essential principle, as I discussed in previous year. They cannot subtract. They cannot be oiker davar min hatayra. There is a mitzvah that the Chachamim could say what's called yesh koyach b'yad Chachamim laker davar min hatayra b'sheva al tasa. They could tell you to be passive. For example, not blowing shofar Rosh Hashanah shechali is b'Shabbos. They're oiker a mitzvah here, but not in action, passivity. They say don't blow shofar. The Torah says to blow shofar. They say don't blow shofar because they were afraid that it's going to cause carrying on Shabbos, which is a death penalty and a serious problem. That they have the koyach to do. Also, they need good reason. You don't say don't do a mitzvah. But to go and violate a mitzvah, go eat non-kosher, or go say that something that's tameh is tahar, and therefore you can eat it. You can eat the carbon. When the Torah says that the basar is tameh and you have to burn it, they don't have that koyach in action to go against Torah, not passively, not doing anything, but saying that this is not tameh. They can't do that. That's the assumption that we were under a whole time. That's why we just said, Reb Shimon says that mashke beis hamikdash is tameh if it's in a keli. Why? Because Reb Shimon holds that tumas mashkin is min hatayra. If it's min hatayra, it's also in the beis hamikdash. Bakarka, it's not min hatayra because it's a mikveh. But if it's not bakarka, it's tameh. Amar Rav Papa comes Rav Papa and says the entire premise of the entire sugya was wrong. You never understood what Yosef ben Yoezer said. Even a person who holds that the tumah of liquid is biblical, the liquid in the butchering section of the Beis Hamikdash, there is a halacha l'Moshe misinai that it's not makabel tumah. Yosef ben Yoezer was not talking about a rabbinic injunction. No, there's a halacha l'Moshe misinai. There's certain traditions that we have from Moshe that are not recorded in the text of Torah, right? The classic example would be that tefillin has to be black or that tefillin has to be square. You're not going to find that anywhere in all of Torah and all of Tanakh. This is what's called halacha l'Moshe misinai. And so many other halachas, it's a tradition. When he said tumas beis hamikdash, that mashka Beis HaMitbachayim is tahor, it doesn't fall into rabbinic injunctions. It's a halacha l'Moshe Misina. If that's the case, you could say tumas mashka is min haTorah. It's tamei min haTorah everywhere. In the Beis Hamikdash, the Chachamim can't change that. You're right, they can't change it. In the Mishkan. They did it. Beis HaMitbachayim wasn't a whole. Beis HaMitbachayim just means the section where they did it. Beis HaMitbachayim doesn't mean a whole house. It means near the Mizbech. Yeah. They had to rinse the karbonis. So Moshe, halacha l'Moshe Messina, gave over to the Jewish people that for the Mishkan or the Beis Hamikdash, the liquid that flows on the meats, which they rinse it and they purify it and they cleanse it, is tar. Yeah. Amalei Reb Huna bereded Rav Nosson Rav Papa. Reb Huna, the son of Reb Nosson, tells Rav Papa, I'm sorry. Let's see the quote. Velahad Amar Reb Elazar. We learned earlier that Reb Elazar said, and Daf Tazayin Amar Aleph, Reb Elazar said, these are his words. Ein tumah lamashkin kol iker. There's no tumah for liquids at all. Daha, teda, proof. Because Yosef ben Yezer from Tzreida testified that the liquids of the butchering section of Beis Hamikdash are pure. You hear what he says? What were his words? Mashkin don't have tumah at all. Proof? Because Yosef ben Yezer testified that the liquid in the Beis Hamikdash is pure. But if Rav Papa was right, the reason that the liquids in the butchering section Beis Hamikdash are pure is because halacha l'Moshe Sinai migamrina mina. Can you learn from this that other liquids are not tamei min haTorah? How could Rabbi Elazar bring a raya that the tum of all mashkin is not min haTorah, even if it is min haTorah? There's a special halacha l'Moshe Sinai when it comes to the Beis HaMitbachayim. So this is a gevaldik shayla. Rabbi Elazar said that from Yosef ben Yezer I could prove that all impurity of liquids anywhere is not biblical, it's rabbinic. What's the logic? Because if it's biblical, they can't make an exception in the Beis Hamikdash. The fact that they could make an exception in the Beis Hamikdash means that even outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's not biblical, it's rabbinic. But if you hold that the whole reason why the mashka Beis HaMitbachayim is tar is because of halacha l'Moshe Sinai, how could you derive from that the principle that liquid outside of the Beis Hamikdash becomes tamei only midrabanan? That's ridiculous. If you say that it was tahor in the Beis Hamikdash because of a rabbinic injunction, that proves that outside of the Beis Hamikdash it's also a rabbinic injunction, and that's why they can separate territories and they could say here it's tahor, here it's tamei. If it would be min haTorah, the rabbis can't make such a separation, and therefore would have to be tahor. But one second, God could. God could make a separation. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai means Hashem made the separation. Where did you prove that Tumas Mashkin is min hadrabanan? Where did you get that mucker? Halacha l'Moshe Sinai says that in the Beis Hamikdash, Mashkin is tar. Where did you prove that it's min hadrabanan? Outside of the Beis Hamikdash. If you tie it that in Beis Hamikdash it's tar min hadrabanan, that means the whole idea is min hadrabanan. So they could make differences. But if you're saying it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai, God has a power to separate the Beis Hamikdash from other places, or the Mishkan from other places. He said that in the butchering section, it's tar. Where do you get a source now that outside of the Beis Hamikdash it's midrabanan? Of course it's min haTorah. What's the teda? What's your proof? Is the charaya that Tumas Beis HaMitbachayim, Taras Beis HaMitbachayim is not halacha l'Moshe Sinai. The Rabbanan said it. How can they say it? The answer is because the whole Tumas Mashkin is only with the Rabbanan. That's his raya. And if it would be min haTorah, the Rabbanan couldn't say it. But if you believe halacha l'Moshe Sinai, then it could be min haTorah, and they could still say Beis HaMitbachayim is Torah. You know why? They're not saying it. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai is saying it. That's Reb Huna's question on Rav Papa. How can you introduce this idea? Rabbi Elazar clearly, when he brings the testimony, he brings it as a proof for mashkin outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Amalei Rabbeinu l'Rabashi, Ravina continues to Ravashi of another question. Say mahalach. Take Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon Amar, Reb Shimon said Tumas Mashkin Dairais. Reb Shimon holds that Tumas Mashkin is min haTorah. The Tanya we learned before in the Beis Tazayin Amar Aleph. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon Omer. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon both say lekelim tahirin laoichlin tmeyin. If you have a suffix, if mashka transfer tumah to kelim, the kelim are Torah because it's a suffix derabbanan. If you have a suffix, if tumah transfer to oichel, the oichel is tameh because suffix deiraisa lechumra. In other words, Rabbi Shimon holds that mashka could be metame oichel min ha-Torah. So therefore, it's tameh misafik because mashka becomes tameh and is metame oichel min ha-Torah. So it's a suffix tumah deiraisa, and reshus hayachid suffix tumah deiraisa is tameh. Hachakamar. Here we quoted a brayso. Reb Shimon says that what? Bekelim tmeyin. In kelim, in Beis Chaim, the water is tameh. Bekarka tahirin. In karka, it's tahir. Why is it tahir? Because it's a mikveh. But I don't understand you. Ve'i hilchasahi. But if it's halacha l'moshe misinai, mali bekelim, mali bekarka. Why is there a difference between kelim and karka? What's the difference? If you tell me it's not halacha l'moshe misinai, then it's very geschmack. Because Reb Shimon holds tumas mashkin is min ha-Torah. So the Chachamim don't have the authority to say that mayim and kelim should become Torah when the Torah says it's tameh. So Reb Shimon says, I'm sorry, I cannot give you this heter. Yosef ben Yezer didn't say this. Doesn't make sense. Tumas mashkin is min ha-Torah. If it's min ha-Torah, so in the Beis Chaim it's also tameh. But karka, I have a reason. Because min ha-Torah, it's Torah, because it's a mikveh. Now I understand beautifully the logic of Reb Shimon. But if Rav Papa is right, that the yisoid of Beis Chaim is what? Halacha l'moshe misinai. So what's the advantage of karka over kelim? What's the advantage of karka? That it's a mikveh. The vart is not a mikveh. You're saying a mikveh, you don't need halacha l'moshe misinai. The vart is that it's halacha l'moshe misinai. If it's halacha l'moshe misinai, mali bekelim, mali bekarka. What's the difference if it's in a keli? What's the difference if it's in a keli with a tumah of shar mashkin and this matzav would be in min ha-Torah? Or it's munach bekarka with a tumas mashkin and this matzav outside would be only midirabbanan. Halacha l'moshe misinai is teaching. What does halacha l'moshe misinai mean? That even though the Torah says it's tameh, Moshe gave us a special tradition that it's tahir, right? So what's Reb Shimon saying? The mayim in the karka is the chaninyan of not halacha l'moshe misinai. It's min ha-Torah tahir. Kelim, why is kelim tameh? What's his point? Because everywhere else it's tameh min ha-Torah. So here it's also tameh min ha-Torah. The Chachamim can't play a game. The Chachamim can't, but halacha l'moshe misinai can. If halacha l'moshe misinai says Beis Chaim is Torah, that's the yisoid. Why would Reb Shimon say kelim not?
Halacha l'moshe misinai is not dam, though. It's only
Huh?
Would it apply to dam also, if that's the case?
Then you attack a taich, maybe that Reb Shimon is talking about dam too, if it's halacha l'moshe misinai. But you have a bigger problem. Why kelim not? Why kelim not? Unless you go back to the way we understood it. So there's no halacha l'moshe misinai. There's a chumash and there's the rabbanon. Reb Shimon holds tumas mashkin is min ha-Torah everywhere. There's no halacha l'moshe misinai. And that's why it's tameh in kelim. There's no halacha l'moshe misinai. Sorry. Why did Rav say it's tar? Because he holds mashkin is tar everywhere. Midoraisa. The Rabbanan made a tumah, not in the Beis Hamikdash. Reb Shimon holds mashkin is tameh everywhere. Midoraisa, even in the Beis Hamikdash. Bekarka, he says it's tar because taka midoraisa would be tar even outside the Beis Hamikdash because it's a little mikveh. In the Beis Hamikdash, it's tar even midor Rabbanan because they didn't make the gzeira in the Beis Hamikdash. It's all clear. But if it's halacha l'moshe misinai, then these are the two big sources that become very problematic. What Rabbi Lazar said and what Rabbi Shimon said. And the Gemarah says, Kashya. This is a good question on Rav Papa, how he could really believe that this is halacha l'moshe misinai. And therefore it seems that Rav Papa is wrong. The Gemarah completely rejects Rav Papa. Take a look in Rashi. Rav Papa is an Amoyer. That's why. How could Rav Papa argue, with Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon? These are two Tanoim. And both of them obviously believed that it was not halacha l'moshe misinai. That's not how they understood this. That's why they're saying what they're saying. Rabbi Elazar is proving that Tumas Mashkin is midrabanan everywhere. from this halacha l'Moshe Misina, because it's not halacha l'Moshe Misina, and Reb Shimon is making a distinction between kelim and karka. Obviously, Rav Papa is wrong. Take a look in Rashi.
Not halacha Moshe Misina. Where did he hear it from?
One moment. V'har Reb Shimon, says Rashi, the mishum de svida le tumas mashkin de'iraisa ka'amar hacha bekelim tmeyin. Why does Reb Shimon say kelim atami? Because he holds tumas mashkin de'iraisa, right? Mishum de b'shar mashkin de'iraisa. Because other mashkin would be tummy de'iraisa on the Beis Hamikdash too. Ubekarka hu de tahirin mishum de gabishar mashkin de'rabbanon. And why by karka is it tahir? Because taka bekarka the tumah would only be the rabbanon outside of the Beis Hamikdash because it's a mikveh. So therefore, with the Beis Hamikdash, the Rabbanon could say it's tahir. Alma lav halacha l'Moshe Misinayu. It's not the principle of halacha l'Moshe Misinai. That's why it's only karka. Why only karka? Because it's only midirabbanon. That's the word, not because it's halacha. If it's why only karka? Because it's the rabbanon. Faketch halacha l'Moshe Misinai. Halacha l'Moshe Misinai means because Hashem said it should be tahir. Reb Shimon says no. Kelim atame. Karka is tahir. Why? Because it's only midirabbanon the tumah, even outside of the Beis Hamikdash, because it's a mikveh min ha-Torah. Alma lav halacha l'Moshe Misinai. V'kashil of Papa. The hilchasi mali bekelim the gabe shar mashkin d'iraisa mali bekarka. What would be the difference between kelim, whereby everything you're saying by kelim, it would be d'iraisa, even outside of the Beis Hamikdash and inside it would be d'iraisa, the isur, and mali bekarka. Kashya garsinon. Hader of Papa lav milsahi. So the Gemarah says what Rav Papa says is not a thing, meaning it's rejected. V'chi amra, and when he said it, lav adaite. V'loy haya zachor l'mishnayus ha lalu. When he said it, it was not on his mind. He did not remember all of these brises that we just quoted that contradict what he says. I should say this is obviously what Rashi says, that if Papa gets rejected. But if you look in Rabbeinu Chananel, you see all the way on the right, Rabbeinu Chananel, it's very, very small words. You have the Rabbeinu Chananel. Yeah? Yud Zayin Amid Beis, right? So Mamash, in the middle of the Rabbeinu Chananel, the line starts Chuli, right? Yeah? V'i hilchasehi me hilchasa migam rinan. He quotes the question. Yeah. In like 10 lines from the top of Rabbeinu Chananel, yeah. He says, the line starts, Matzah. V'loi matzah rev papa tshuva. He says, v'loi dachin Allah, but we don't reject him. The haloi also b'tiyufta. It doesn't say tiyufta on Rev Papa. It says kashya. And Rabbeinu Chananel says, when it says tiyufta, it means refutation. When it says kasha, it means you have a kasha on Rev Papa. Kasha means you have a question, but it's not refuted. The interesting thing is that when you look in Rambam, the Rambam paskins lahalocha like Rav Papa. The Rambam in Hilchas Sha'ar Avis HaTumah says that Tumas Mashkin is min ha-Torah. Mashka is mekabel Tumah min ha-Torah. And the Rambam says, but Mashka Beis HaMitbachayim is Tahir. Why? Halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So he mamish embraces the view of Rav Papa lahalocha. The Sfas Emes has a very interesting svara how Rav Papa came to say this. Where did it happen? Okay? And for this, he reminds us something that happened much earlier in the Gemarah. And this is fascinating because he believes that this Gemarah of Papa didn't just come in suddenly because we're talking about it. It's actually connected to something that happened a long time ago. And we changed subjects fast. And now the Gemarah still owes a debt to go back. And that is, on Tezayin Amid Aleph, there was a story that Reb Huna Bar Chinana sent his son to Rav Papa. And he said, I want you to ask Rav Papa a question. What was the question? Shmuel said that the liquids in Beis HaMitbachayim are tameh, but they can't transfer tumah. Ask Rav Papa, how could Shmuel say such a thing when there's a pasuk in Parshas Sav that v'habasar, that meat, asher yiga b'chol tameh, it touches anything that's tameh, it becomes disqualified and you have to burn it. And the pasuk says, b'chol tameh, anything that's tameh. You're saying that if meat of a carbon touches mashke beis hamikdash, it doesn't become tummy. That's what Shmuel holds. Rav holds it doesn't become tummy, but he also holds that the mashke is not tummy. But Shmuel holds the mashke is tummy, but it doesn't transfer tummy. But the pasuk clearly says that basar asher yiga b'chol tummy, anything that's tummy becomes tummy. So how can anybody argue with that? Saying the Chachamim said that mashke beis hamikdash shouldn't transfer tumah. I can understand. You could say it shouldn't transfer tumah to chulin, but it shouldn't transfer tumah to karbonas, right? The Gemarah said the pasuk says b'chol tameh. So the Gemarah tried to answer on the Zayin Amud Aleph. Learn from Revi B'Kodesh. What's Revi B'Kodesh? Reb Shisha answered same as Revi B'Kodesh. Revi B'Kodesh means when a carbon becomes a Revi, it also doesn't transfer tumah to the next. But Reb Ashi, maskefla Reb Ashi. Why? Because Revi B'Kodesh is not called tameh anywhere in Chumash. The whole way we learn Revi is from a Kal V'Chem. It's not called tameh. But if tumas mashkin is called tameh, because the Torah says V'chol mashka asher yishasa b'chol kli yitma. Yitma, it becomes tameh. So the Torah calls mashka tameh, and Shmuel agrees with that, and that's even in the Beis Hamikdash. So then the pasuk says v'habasar asher yiga b'chol tameh lo ye'achel. Any karbanas that touches anything that's tameh can't be eaten. Then how in the world can Shmuel paskin, based on this testimony, that mashke beis hamikdash and the Beis Hamikdash doesn't transfer tumah to karbanas? It does not make sense. It's a feidish pasuk that it becomes tameh, b'chol tameh. Anything that's tameh is metameh the karbanas. Shmuel says the rabbi said we're taking away our gzeid of transferring tumah. Take it away from chulin, but you can't fight a pasuk again. A pasuk says that a carbon that touches anything tameh should be burnt and can't be eaten. Sorry, we have a different law. Here's carbonas, it's carbonas, it's touching mashkin that's tameh, and we're saying you're allowed to eat it. The Torah says you're not allowed to eat it. You have to burn it, and we say you're allowed to eat it. How can that be? Torah can't Chachamim can't eliminate a tumah min Torah. They can't do that. You could say mashke beis hamikdash is not metamei chulin. I have no problem, but that's not what they cared about. You could say it's not metamei chulin because the transferring of tumas mashkin to chulin is b'derabbanan. It's not in beis hamikdash. What they cared was for karbanas. For karbanas is a befeidish apos. That's the question Reb Huna bar Chinan told his son. Said, when you go into Rav Papa, I want you to challenge Rav Papa. How can Shmuel say such a thing? How does he justify it? Oh, so Reb Shisha gave an answer of Revi. Reb Ashi asked it, and the Gemarah said kasha. It remained the kasha on Shmuel. Rav was maintained, Rav was protected, and Shmuel was dismissed as a kasha. As a kasha. Comes his Fasemis and says, what did Rav Papa answer? Doesn't say. We got involved with Reb Shishi's answer, Reb Ashi's refutation. Then the Gemarah starts asking questions on Rav. What did Rav Papa answer? Rav Papa's answer wasn't mentioned there because Rav Papa's answer is a different wavelength. It's a different frequency. So the Gemarah remained in the realm of the discussion, which believes that it's not halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It all depends on the Rabbanon. If it's the Rabbanon or the Iraisa. He says, finally here, Amar Rav Papa is the answer that he gave the son of Reb Huna, who sent his son into Rav Papa to ask on Shmuel. This is what prompted Rav Papa. So Rav Papa says, let me tell you the answer. What's Rav Papa's answer? Rav Papa said, I'll explain it to you. Pashut. You have to say this. You have to say it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That Shmuel is telling you that there's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That even though the liquid got tameh, because mashke gets tameh, because he holds mashke gets tameh min ha-Torah, it got tameh. That's true. But there's halacha l'Moshe Sinai that it doesn't transfer tumah. It doesn't transfer tumah even to karbonas. There's a pasuk, habasar asher yiga b'chol kodesh. B'chol tameh lo ye'achel. Anything that's tameh, if the basar touches it, shouldn't eat it. You're right. That's why I need to say it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai, because there's no way that Shmuel can justify such a tradition from Yosef ben Yoyezer if it's fighting a pasuk. Unless there's halacha l'Moshe Sinai that says, Basar asher yiga b'chol tameh lo ye'achel. That's true, but there's an exception. What's the exception? The exception is mashke beis hamikdash. That's Rav Papa's answer. Mashkin is Dairaisa, so it's called Tameh, and therefore Basa that touches it should be destined and condemned to be burnt. Comes Shmuel and says, no, it's not burnt, it's good meat, it's kosher meat. Why? The Gemarah said kasha before. Rav Papa's answer was, I'll tell you why. It's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. If it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai, they could say, even though the pasuk says you shouldn't eat it, that's other tumas. This tumah not. The Gemarah brought another answer before, and the Gemarah doesn't bring there the answer of Rav Papa because it's a whole different mahalach of a sugya. As we explained before, Rav Papa brings in this whole new idea that we didn't acknowledge before. So the Gemarah doesn't mention it before. But here at last, the Gemarah mentions the chiddush of Rav Papa. Halacha l'Moshe, and it was all to answer and justify Shmuel. It wasn't Stam Rav Papa woke up and said, Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Yeah? Oy bazoi, it's a little geschmacker here. Because even though these brises have big questions on Rav Papa, what are the questions? The questions is that you see it's not Halacha l'Moshe Sinai, but the question on Shmuel still remains. So Rav Papa holds on to that idea of Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And that's what Rabbi Chananel says. It's takakashya, but it's not to yufta. Right. Rav Papa is saying that according to Shmuel, you have no choice, but that he had a tradition that this was halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And that would be fascinating because the Rambam takapaskins, that mashka beis hamikdash is halacha l'Moshe Sinai. No, because the Rambam holds that the halacha, mashka is minat Torah, tumas mashka is minat Torah. It's not metame other things minat Torah, but itself it's tamei minat Torah. That's the Rambam's halacha. The shitta, like the shitta we spoke about Reb Meir, that tumas mashkin is minat Torah, but it doesn't transfer tumah minat Torah. That's what he paskins in Hilchos Shar Avos HaTumah, which is the shitta of Shmuel, which means that the mashkin beis hamikdash is tamei minat Torah. Nonetheless, the Rambam paskins that mashkin beis hamikdash tumah does not get transferred. It does not get transferred. It's tamei minat Torah, but it doesn't get transferred. How? Why doesn't it get transferred? Right? So if you say, because transferring is only the Rabbanan, beautiful, they didn't make it in Beis Chaim. But we have that pasuk, habasar, asher yiga b'chol tamei. So the Rambam Taka embraces this view of Rav Papa that it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. And that answers that problem. If you wouldn't have the pasuk asher yiga b'chol tamei, you would be good. Because transferring tumah from mashkin to others is only with the Rabbanan. So the Rabbanan could say that in Beis Chaim it doesn't apply. But if you hold tumas mashke minat Torah, you're right. That's where the Rambam goes to an extreme. The Rambam holds that mashke beis hamikdash are not mekabel tuma bechlal. Because once you put an halacha l'Moshe Sinai there, you're not limited anymore to the tumas mashke minat Torah. Loit Rashi, Rav Papa was rejected, which means the only way you could say mashka beis hamikdash is tahor is if tumas mashkin is the rabbanon. Because if tumas mashkin deraisa, it can't be tahor; it has to be tamei. You could say it doesn't transfer tumah. That you could say, right? That's what Shmuel says, and we had a problem with that. But if you want to say it's tahor, you have to say that tumas mashkin is the rabbanon. If tumas mashkin is the rabbanon, you could say it's tahor. That's what Rashi is telling us. Rashi says that the kula of mashka can only be if you hold it as tumah derabbanon. We hold la halacha that mashka is mekabel tumah minat Torah. It doesn't transfer tumah to other things minat Torah. But mashka is mekabel tumah minat Torah. It could become tumah, like the pasuk says, chol mashka sheyishasa b'chol kli yitma. Oy bazoi, mashka beis hamikdash would be mekabel tumah. Because it's minat Torah, the rabbis can't change that. It just wouldn't transfer tumah to other things because the rabbis would be lenient. That would be the shit of Shmuel. Comes the Rambam and is mechadish that mashke beis hamikdash is not mekabel tumah at all. The Rambam paskins tumas mashkin is minat Torah. How could you say mashke beis hamikdash is not metame? The answer is because he holds it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. If it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai, you're good to go. In other words, Rav Papa's shit is embraced, even though the Gemarah had questions about these prices. But I'm just saying that the Sfasema says that Rav Papa said it l'chatchila to explain Shmuel. Shmuel holds that tumas mashka beis hamikdash is even in the Beis Hamikdash for itself. It doesn't transfer. The Rambam paskins halacha that there's no tumah at all because halacha l'Moshe Sinai. But Shmuel holds that it's not that. Tumas beis hamikdash is on the mashk. It just doesn't transfer it. On that he said there's a pasuk b'chol tamei. On this, he had to say, Halacha l'Moshe Misinai. You understand? On this, he had to say, Halacha l'Moshe Misinai. But if you hold that Halacha l'Moshe Misinai is that the mashke itself is not tamei, then you don't have a problem. Basar sheyiga b'chol tamei. Mashke is not tamei in Beis HaMikveh. If the basar touches tamei, you're not allowed to eat it. But in Beis HaMikveh, there's Halacha l'Moshe Misinai that it's not tamei. So you can go to a much greater madrega in the Torah. That's what the halacha that the Rambam learns it. So there's two different mahalchim how to learn this in the conclusion. Yeah, that tumas Rambam paskins tumas mashkin is min ha-Torah. Liquid becomes tamei min ha-Torah. Only midirabbanan does it transfer tumah. Only midirabbanan does it transfer tumah. Okay. And therefore, in Beis HaMikveh, you would think the mashke should be tamei because it's min ha-Torah. But the Rambam says it's halacha l'Moshe Misinai that mashke Beis HaMikveh is tahora. Hilchas tumas oichlin perik yud halacha tazayin. That's where he speaks about mashke Beis HaMikveh. The idea that mashke generally is tamei min ha-Torah but doesn't transfer tumah min ha-Torah, that the Rambam says in Hilchas Sha'ar Avos HaTumah, Perek Zayin and Perek Yud Daled. So we have three different shittas. One shitta is that mashke is tamei min ha-Torah and is metamei min ha-Torah. One shitta is it's tamei min ha-Torah, but it doesn't transfer min ha-Torah. And then there's the shitta we're learning here from Rav. It's never tamei. Mashke is nothing min ha-Torah, nothing. It's not mekabel tumah, only midirabbanan. The halacha in the Rambam is that mashke is mekabel tumah min ha-Torah, but it doesn't transfer tumah min ha-Torah, only midirabbanan. But the chiddush, so you would think, according to Rashi, if you're following that pattern, that lahalacha mashke Beis HaMikveh should be tamei because it's min ha-Torah and doesn't transfer tumah. But the Rambam embraces Rav Papa. Rashi rejects Rav Papa. He believes the Gemarah said goodbye to Rav Papa. Rabbi Hananel says no. It said kasha, not tiyufta. Kasha means question. Question is not refutation. Question is we have a problem. Okay, right? Like somebody, like the old expression, "Kein is nicht gestorben von akasha." You don't die from questions. You could die from tiyuftas, not from questions. Tiyufta means you're just rejected completely. You're not here anymore. Kasha means you're here. I just have a kasha. Okay, so you have a kasha. Kasha doesn't. And we can understand why. It's a kasha. We're not delegitimizing Rav Papa's position. We're contradicting him from two brises. Yeah. We're contradicting him from two brises. Rav Papa was explaining the shit of Shmuel. Yeah. So you have to understand how that works, what taka the mahalach here is. But the bottom line is that the Rambam embraces that lahalacha, which allows him to give us the big chiddush that mashka Beis HaMikveh is not tamei at all. Because even though tumas mashkin is min ha-Torah, here we have a special dispensation in the Beis Hamikdash, which the rabbis can't do, but halacha l'Moshe Misinai could do.
Or could disagree with the brisa based on the Moshe Misinai?
Yeah, if it's halacha l'Moshe Misinai, yeah. The next piece tomorrow will continue with the question you raised about Mayim Shovin and all that. Yeah. Everybody have a wonderful day. Tomorrow's regular, yeah. In the Brises we didn't have that, but Rabbi Elazar said, no. The Gemarah quotes here Rabbi Elazar. We already learned it earlier, also, right? That Rabbi Elazar said, "Ein tuma lemashkin kol ikar." If you look at Tazayin Amud Aleph, ein tuma lemashkin kol ikar. There's mamish no tuma to mashkin. It's basically like 1, 2, 3, 6 lines Tazayin on top. You see. Sover Rabbi Elazar mashkin is l'tuma ba'olam atanya Rabbi Elazar omer ein tuma lemashkin kol ikar. Kol ikar means there's no tuma lemashkin. Teda, what's the teda? Teda, shaharei, right? Heyid, how do you know that there's no tuma lemashkin? Kol ikar means they don't even get tummy themselves. Teda, shaharei, heyid Yosef ben Yazir shtreidal ayel kamtza dochan val mashkin basement bechaya dochan. That it's mamash dochan. If it's dachan, it means that it's not mekabel tumah. So you know that it's midirabbanan. Because if it would be d'oraisa, how can the rabbanan be metayered it? So we see clearly, a yisoid in Tanoim, Rebbe Elazar, that there's no tumah lemashkin at all. The Gemarah says, l'chari Rebbe Elazar previously agreed with Reb Meir. That was the kasha the Gemarah said. How do you understand Rebbe Elazar? But there's clearly a shit of Rebbe Elazar. Then the Gemarah says, regular mashkin or mashkin Beis HaMikveh? Regular mashkin, 3 shittas. Rabbi Meir holds Tumas Mashkin is Minat Torah, but it doesn't transfer Minat Torah. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon hold that it transfers Tumah to Eichel. Rabbi Yehuda says it transfers Tumah even to Kalim. And Rabbi Lazar says it doesn't get Tumah at all. So that's the third. You bring in Rabbi Yehuda, you mean? You bring in Rabbi Yehuda. With Rabbi Yehuda, you have 4 shittas. Either it's not Tumah at all Minat Torah, or it's Tumah Minat Torah, but it doesn't transfer Minat Torah. First is Rabbi Lazar, the second is Rabbi Meir. Or Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon, it's Tumah Minat Torah, it transfers Minat Torah to Eichel. Or Rabbi Yehuda, it's Tumah Minat Torah, it transfers Minat Torah even to Kalim. The reason I said 3 is because Lamaskana, the Gemarah is going to tie that Rabbi Yehuda had Charata. We'll see tomorrow. That's why I said 3. Lamaskana, Rabbi Yehuda is going to be altered. But the way we're standing now is there's 4 shittas in Tumas Mashka. Yeah. And then there's the Geder of Beis Chaim. And there's the question how it works. L'chayre, right? Reb Shimon would hold Beis Chaim as Tameh, right? And it transfers also. The Rabbanan can't change that. Besides Karka, because Mikveh, that's why he makes a chiluk. He doesn't hold Allah Moshe Sinai, obviously. Yeah. That's Reb Shimon. You have the shit of Shmuel, who says, no, it's Tameh, but it doesn't transfer. Because he holds l'chayre that it's Midirabbanan, so it doesn't transfer. Unless we go with the Allah Moshe Sinai idea. But the Parshas till now, we weren't going with that. We just said, it doesn't transfer, there's only Midirabbanan, and the Beis Hamikdash, there's no Din Dirabbanan. That's Shmuel's shitta. So Bashkan Beis Chaim is Tameh, but it's not Metame. Even in Kalim, not like Reb Shimon, because the transferring is also Midirabbanan. Or you go Shittas Rav, like Rebbe Lozer, Bechlal no Tumas Mashka Minat Torah. So Mashka Beis Chaim is completely tired. Even Kalim, it's not Mekabel, it doesn't transfer. Kalim, it's not Tameh Bechlal, no issue. Right. That would be the difference by Mashka Beis Chaim. Obviously Rabbi Yehuda, who holds it transfers, even to Kalim. So for sure in the Mashka Beis Chaim also. He would hold like Reb Shimon. Unless it's Bekarka. If you hold Halacha L'Moshe Sinai, then even Reb Shimon, but Rabbi Yehuda would be able to hold that it's not Makabel Tumah at all. Forget that it doesn't transfer. It's not even Makabel. Why is it not Makabel? Because Halacha L'Moshe Sinai. Of course it doesn't transfer Tumah. Or you could say Halacha L'Moshe Sinai, that it's Makabel Tumah, like Mashkin, but it doesn't transfer, even though for Kachim there's a pasuk that it does transfer. Halacha L'Moshe Sinai teaches that it doesn't transfer. So Vasem says that's where Rav Papa came with this Halacha L'Moshe Sinai to answer that question on Shmuel. Because he was the one who got that question originally and he never answered it. So here the Gemarah comes to his answer. So chap from the Vasem. Verstandig? Ist verstanden? The Chachamim, when they made you burn chametz in the 6th hour, they're not being Eikev Minat Torah. They're just telling you burn it an hour earlier. Where's the Eikev Minat Torah? Which kedusha? Rashi asks the question. Yeah. Hamikdash bechite de kordenaisa ena mekudeshes. So you're saying in the 6th hour the Reis it's kedushin, and the Chacham say it's not kedushin. So l'chayre this person is not going to give a get, and the woman is going to remarry. So the kid should be mamzedim because midayraisa was a good kedushin because it's not aser bano. So l'chayre the Chacham will oiker, right? That's your shaila. So Rashi asks it on Pesachim Dav Zayin Amid Aleph. And what does Rashi say? Kol ha-mekadesh adaita de rabbanon mekadesh. When you're mekadesh anish, you say Ariat mekadeshes li kedas Moshe v'Yisrael, which means the chachamim. It's like I'm making a tanai. Mekadesh al tanai, yeah. Mekadesh that we have to eat grapes every month, whatever. So mekadesh adaita de rabbanon, that the chachamim are maskim to the kedushin. If they're not maskim, it's not a kedushin. So Minat Torah it's not a kedushin. And then Rashi adds something else. Hefker, Bezdin, Hefker, vehem hifkiru mamoinai. Bezdin has a koyach to make things hefker. They will mafker your mom, and they said that b'shar shishis it's not your money. So if it's not your money, it's not kedushin even Minat Torah. Because even Minat Torah, the Minat Torah, it's your money. That's true. But the Rabbanan have a koyach to be mafker your mom. that it becomes not your money, even minat Torah, because they have a koich to be mafker your mammon. You understand? So if it's not your mammon, so then you weren't mekadesh. You didn't. Kedushin has to be with kesef. It wasn't your money. So mainly, even minat Torah, it's not kedushin. That's what Rashi says on Dav Zayin Amar Aleph. But the Chachamim can't be oiker something. That's the reason, Taka, we say, why do we say Hekadas Moshe Yisrael? Why don't we say we're putting on tefillin Kedas Moshe Yisrael? Being mafresh chalak Kedas Moshe Yisrael? That's the word. The first answer, that it's hadaita de rabbanan. In other words, the only way you're mekudesh is of Bezdin, of Yidin, of Klal Yisrael is maskim to the Kedushin. And here the Chacham weren't maskim with the Kedushin. So it's not an akidas dava min atayra. That's one answer. The second answer is hefker Bezdin hefker. They were mafker the moment, so it's not Kedushin. It's basically like I take your money and I'm a kaddish and isha, and you never gave me the money as a matana. It's not my money, and therefore it's not kiddush.
Think about yourself of not from on Zion this way. Said the Rabbi, the Rabbi, the Shul wasn't on the roof, wasn't that conditions. It was not a mountain.
It wasn't a kiddush, you say.
Yeah.
So they didn't need a get. Yeah. But stam to be oikem in a Torah, it wouldn't work. You can't do that. They just don't have that koyach. The Torah says something, they can't say it's not. Verstehst?
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.